he too coming forward right now just to show the team that he is there, still in the bike race, but he shouldn't have come off the front like that right now.
Well, that bunch is thinning out rather dramatically now. Gutierrez is showing his resistance, but now it's all over. Now the serious boys are beginning to fire. This looks like it being a good lap, and surely it was 3:24 last time around. And that was a 19-minute 35 lap, by the way. Surely now on lap 13 we're going to see that gap come down.
Well, the hammer now starting to come down a little more. Everybody trying to raise the tempo in this main field, but you can always see when it's hurting, because riders looking over their shoulders to see if the gaps are appearing in the main field, and they're not right now. There's a couple of Dutch riders moving forward there. Michael Bogard is in the group quite comfortably. There's Scotty Sunderland halfway down the pack, looking further down the main field. A lot of these riders really are starting to suffer right now.
Yes, this is the crunch period. There's always stages of a world championship when you have to grit your teeth and hope you survive to come through the other end, and this is one of those periods now at around 180 kilometers covered, some 80 kilometers still to race. They've got to answer the pressure being put on. We're chasing at 5 survivors of 9, and the gap is coming down.
It's not coming down very rapidly at the moment, though, as Alexander Vinokurov comes to the front here, the rider from Kazakhstan, Olympic silver medalist, a magnificent bike rider, one of a great Kazakhstan international amateur team who raced all over the world and then literally exploded, nearly every one of those riders getting a professional contract. You can see the pressure now as people move left and right in that front of that spearhead, trying to be near the front but not wanting to put their noses into the wind at the moment.
I don't blame them. Back up to the front runners. Another lap can be ticked off here, reaching the 184 kilometer point, and then the clock will start and we'll see what they've got. That's Bochat of Switzerland. Quite like the Swiss team colours as they come through, and I like the new Italian colours too. De Luca's wearing those, sat at the back. These riders have been away now since the 60th kilometre, so 120 kilometres in the lead, which is some 70 miles out front. 4 hours 22 as they go out on lap 14.
6 laps remaining. Bochat has had a pretty reasonable season. He's a young rider with 1 victory to his credit, and that was just a couple of weeks ago in the Hessen Rundfahrt when he took out the 2nd stage, as Austria moves to the front. There in the middle for France is...
So it helps if I remember to get my drink.
Slight problem, and it looks very much as if it's Laurent Jalabert got his arm in the air.
Well, now this is a far more serious situation for Jalabert than he has. Laurent Brochard going through camera now. He's also right at the sharp end, looking for the move perhaps.
Should be able to catch up to a few of those riders.
He has a serious problem. His hand has been up. He's looking over to see if there are any teammates around right now.
Long bike ride.
At the front of the pack, but this is not the time to have an incident.
60k.
The pressure is pretty much on at the front of the pack right now, and if he finds himself off the back with a incident, he's going to have a hard time getting himself back into the race.
It's a bit warm up outside the wings.
He's going like a train. It's a bit of a performance for the crowd, I think, this to the start-finishing line, but he's going well. Brochard sprinting up on the left of our picture. Trying to join 3 men on the attack. There's the tie-up. My goodness me, it's come down this time.
And I
2 minutes 8 seconds
need
to go.
a start.
Still been a very long and hard chase, Phil, to pull back from 4.5 minutes to 2 minutes, but I do feel now that we will see the end of that leading group of 5 fairly shortly. Well, another man has climbed into the pits. This is Frédéric Pinault of France. And this is the part of the race now where we can expect more and more riders to pull away from the race. 1 minute
what if that happened to me to be off the spike by 11:30?
And still
where's the finish going on?
Really keeping the pressure on. He's the man who's got the most to gain from a situation like this, as well as Danilo De Luca in 2nd position there. De Luca must be just keeping his fingers crossed and hoping there's going to be some tactical manoeuvres in the main field behind, but that doesn't happen at the World Championships. Once you get to the critical part of the race, the hammer really does start to go down, and Brochard is the man putting the hammer down right now. He's going off the front of the pack, and you can hear the French crowd.
Well, looking at a man who has won the world title in the past, facing all sorts of accusations that he may have won it on drugs. But that's what's coming out of the Festina affair, of which Brochard is very much a part of that. But right now he's trying to redeem himself here. He's trying to rip clear of the field. Ideally he wants a small good with him.
Belgians are sending a man up there to try and get onto the tail. It looks like Nico Martin moving forward. It isn't in fact Nico Martin, it's one of the other Belgian riders. That's Michael Van Eyken who's got across. And he's not a rider we see an awful lot of on the international circuit. The man I feel they're working for today must be Andre Schmil. And at the back of the pack we're hearing over race radio that there is a problem with Laurent Jalabert.
Well, that's a real shame. The question is, he's going to be very unlucky because the hammer has gone down right at the moment he slid off the back of the field. We're now on to lap 14 here, 185 kilometres covered for the main field. The leaders just a little bit further ahead, but not by much now. They're probably inside 2 minutes now after this flurry of attacks.
So the hammer is really down right now. Everybody is trying to get off the front. Everybody is trying to form the counter-attack in pursuit of those 5 leaders at the moment. Their advantage has come down pretty rapidly. It was at one time 4.5 minutes. It's now well inside of 2 minutes. And the speed is obviously different in the main field. You can see the difference in the speed. These riders, Phil, now are approaching 50 kilometers an hour. And this lap, if they keep this pressure on, is going to be pretty close to the fastest so far.
But the impetus is slipping just a bit as that flurry of attacks has been brought back to heel. The riders looking for who's going to move next. The lap time itself was not great, 19:35 followed by 19:41. So nothing approaching the 18:09 done when the original break went away on lap 4.
Christophe Moreau leading them into the finishing straight. There is Danilo De Luca. De Luca's a magnificent bike rider, and there's been some incredible sums of money back to try and
Time to catch up to this.
Sums of money,
aka South
$1
Africa.
million per year, and I certainly think that he's going to be a great bike rider. Very cocky for the moment, knows exactly what he wants to do, and he so dearly wanted the Maglia Rossa in the Giro d'Italia this year. The huge crowd is not though for Danilo De Luca with the green shirt there. It's for Christophe Moreau, the French representative in this leading group of 5.
200 kilometres, give or take a kilometre under the wheels now. And this is looks like Mathieu Cronk has been left, has he, by the leaders? Gritting his teeth anyway. Spotted well that he was in the breakaway, but he's in trouble now.
Well, that's a surprise. They may well have had a mechanical incident because he seemed to be riding fairly well there. He's 30 seconds or more in arrears of that leading group of riders.
He must have punctured. We never heard about that, but he must have punctured as he goes into 5 laps to go.
Bit of calm over the front of the main field right now. But you can notice now the organisation starting to come in from the Italians. A lot of those green shouldered jerseys moving to the front. That's the Italian squad, the new Italian strip. They've got a pretty good role to play here right now because they have Danilo De Luca in the leading group of riders, but they also have Michele Bartoli. Bartoli just on the right-hand side there with the tricolor helmet on, that helmet indicating he's the national champion of Italy this year. And he likes this circuit. He said openly when he won the Grand Prix of Plouay in the month of August that he'd like to come back in a couple of months' time and find himself crowned a world champion. He was a super favourite before the start of the championships, and for the moment he hasn't made a wrong move.
And these 3 riders surviving here now, 4 riders, sorry, Beauchamp sitting on the back of them. I don't even notice Bartoli there, Paul. He's still got his top jersey on, his zip up top. I mean, that's something you wouldn't normally see in the World Championship with some 5 laps to go to the race.
Still pretty cool for the moment. There is his teammate Paolo Bettini, who wears 39 in second position, right up against the barriers right now. But the main field slowly but surely starting to reduce in numbers, and it's in the last 2 or 3 laps you'll see riders disappearing from this group. It's still pretty big though for this stage of the World Championship. 5 laps still to go to the finish, and a huge convoy of cars behind the riders. All the major nations are allowed to bring 12 riders to the World Championships, and the lesser teams are allowed to bring just 8. The defending team, which is in this instance Spain, would have been allowed to start 13 riders here at the World Championships, Alano being the 13th man, and he in fact decided to take his dummy and go home after he was beaten in the individual time trial. But it's a big advantage, and this is all decided on the rankings of the teams in the international field. The UCI ranks all of the countries, and if you finish in the top 6, you're allowed to bring 12 riders to the World Championships.
That's what the quarter prince there ahead of the field of 10 the others, there weren't many of them, are now out. Antonio Cruz, who also rode in the World Championships, Danny Pate and Fred Rodriguez haven't seen Fred at all, the American champion, but McRae's still certainly in the thick end of the race.
Pretty close to the front there, wearing 36 is Richard Viron. I wonder what's going through his mind right now as Matthew Brock has been caught. That leaves just 4 riders at the front of the World Championships right now, and their advantage is coming down all of the time.
I just have a feeling that Bronk did have a flat tyre there, but anyway, it doesn't matter now. He's back in the field. Of the 9 originals, 4 survived. As the race continues to chase them all down. Still at 1-2 Belgians there. They are working, of course, for Andre Schnell. Bartley tucked in nicely. How he would like to round up his season with a world title. There he is over to the right. There he is gone now. Working stuff.
Pretty close. He's in the first 5 or 6 riders there, just off to the right-hand side. He's keeping himself off the front of the main field right now, but also as close to the front as possible in case there are any surprise attacks. Right in the middle there is Axel Merckx in the Belgian 30. He's going off to the left. There is now the orange field going on now. Big, strong rider. He's pretty nervous right now, looking over his shoulder. Probably wants to know the whereabouts of Andre Schnell. What a great season Axel has had. He's brought it down an awful lot of emotion. A great individual stage victory in the Giro d'Italia. I could not believe that he would come back after a dramatic crash. And then in the month of June he took the national championships, and it's been a long time since the Belgians have seen the name Merckx right at the top of the leaderboard. And I'll tell you one thing, they say that Eddie was actually there commentating for Belgian television, and they had to rip the microphone away from him with about 10 kilometers to go.
Well, you know, Merckx followed by Merckx is a pretty sensational thing to happen, because apart from Andy David and a couple of flurries by 1 or 2 other riders, there hasn't been much to shout for in Belgium in recent years. The Italians at the minute are doing everything right. They've got all of their players at the front. The Spanish riders are riding in defence of Oscar Freire again. It's an interesting move this. The big guns are firing. The big teams with those 12 starters are now showing the advantage of having so many riders on the start line.
Well, drill squads coming forward now, getting team tactics. I do feel that the Spanish really only have one major chance in their rank, and that is the defending champion Oscar Freire, and that would be pretty impressive if he could make it 2 in a row. The last time that was done by Gianni Buglio. It's very rare for a world title to happen twice in succession. The field does look to be reducing in numbers somewhat, and it really is becoming a war of attrition as we rejoin the 4 leaders, and they're looking a little bit more ragged than they did earlier on. This climb, although not very much if you do it just on one occasion, after 5 or 6 hours in the saddle, really does start to become quite a mountain. It feels as if somebody's got a hydraulic jack underneath it and they're lifting it up each time you come around.
Those legs are not going to make it to the finish on these 4 riders, and there's the reason why. 1 minute 10 seconds now back to the peloton. Robbie Hunter, the latest rider to reach Orius in South Africa, who's now retired.
In fact, although the time gap was just over the 1 minute, I noticed they're pushing all of the cars out of the gap right now, and these guys know what that means. That's why Marichal there for Belgium is looking over his shoulder. It means once they start pushing all of the cars out of the way that the gap is coming down pretty rapidly. And the last time check of 1 minute, I think when we pull back, may well only be 30 seconds.
Well, they are on the hill. I haven't found them yet. There they are. Yeah, I think you're right. 50 seconds is probably the gap now. They're coming very quickly. And when the capture arrives, as it surely will, then we're going to see a flurry of attacks, I am sure, because there are far too many riders here dreaming of a rainbow jersey right now.
Still a lot of big names in this group. Sergei Ivanov is still there for Russia. Looking a little bit further down the pack. Scotty Sunderland is still in there as well for Australia. Got a quick glimpse of him. This man here is Roberto Laiseca, the man we saw taking the stage victory at the Vuelta a España. A very good bike rider. Finished high in the overall rankings as well. Spain on the front, completely organised, trying to pull this back, trying to keep a large group together for their man, the defending champion Oscar Freire.
And Richard Viron is also there now, centre left of our picture, and still looking pretty cool here. 54 seconds, so that wasn't a bad guess by us, was it? As they now start to close in. This is going to be a most interesting move here now.
So Jimmy's Brook, Cole's rider on the right-hand side. He now has to ride very close to the front of the pack after all of the work that was done by his teammates to pull back that advantage, which at one time was 4.5 minutes. Greg looking over to see where everybody else is. There is Andre Schmeel a little further back in the light blue jersey of the Belgians. And if we can have a look further down the field, we'll get a chance to see if Laurent Jalabert managed to get himself back into the main field. There is Oscar Freire wearing number 1 there, pretty close to the front of the pack. Magnificent bike rider, defending champion, and looking very seriously as a major contender here to take the win twice.
And the only left in the race, I think now, Scott Sunderland is right up there as well. Like Andre Tappy, he's got a point to prove. Max Chambry still going through there. There's still 2 of the 3 British riders in this race. The other one didn't start, by the way. John Tanner and Charlie Lugarius. Max Chambry and Charlie Lugarius are the 2 riders left in this race, and they're both up there too.
Looking down that long main field there, I didn't catch much of a sign of Laurent Jalabert, but it's very easy to hide in the main pack. 4 leaders over the top of the climb now, starting to organise themselves just a little bit. Marichal is the man in first place. Danilo De Luca's face not giving anything away right now, but I think he realises he's had his chance of glory at the World Championships. It's been a major help for the Italians, but basically for these 4 riders, as the pace picks up towards the end, they will get caught and probably spat out of the back.
But it's still been a superb ride. Over 100 miles in the lead now for those 4 survivors of the 9 who escaped originally, as again the Italians now trying to take control and trying desperately now to reduce that lead. Often wonder, Paul, why Italians are chasing an Italian.
I think they realise now that the race is over. They realise that the fact is those 4 riders have been in the breakaway situation for a long time. Maybe the word has come back that in fact Danilo De Luca is not in excellent form, is not certainly going to win. And the Italians feel that this is the moment they really need to pull out. This is Michele Bartoli, El Cazzo, the cat they call him. He's coming out to the front of the pack right now. He knows this course. This is where he won the Grand Prix of Plouay. And this is the first major serious attack of the race.
Well, Bartoli now trying to rip this field to shreds here as we go into the closing laps of the event. There's still De Luca up in the front. He'd be not happy at the thought the Italians are throwing their best men at the race now to reduce that lead, but we are inside a minute, well inside a minute now to those leaders. We say bye-bye to Plouay again as we move out on these closing laps of the World Championship.
That attack hurt the Italian in 3rd position. There is Davide Rebellin. Michael Bogart is there in the orange. Not quite sure what Michele wants. Come on, boys, let's get working. He looks over his shoulder to see what sort of damage has been done. Not really enough for the moment. There's still an awful lot of bike riders still in contact.
Well, the thing was, I didn't see Schmil making that break, so there's no reason for the Belgian riders to start working there. And besides, Bartoli is not slow in cajoling everybody into action, and it's a question whether you're strong enough to say no thanks.
He looks over his shoulder here. He sees that they've got the gap here, and he's saying, go, 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 because we have a gap, but nobody else wants to. The Belgian orders are obviously there, and you can see that they're not going to work at all unless Andre Schmil is in the front split of riders. A general regrouping once again happening in this bike race, but that was a pretty serious attack there by Michele Bartoli.
Yes, it's one of those cases I wish I'd come over to the back of the race, because I'm quite sure we lost a few riders with that flurry of activity.
Absolutely. Many riders will be put under pressure there, but they need to keep this pressure on over the top. Otherwise, riders will recover. They have a slight gap over the rest of the field right now as Paolo Bettini comes forward to insist and accelerate. A lot of Mapei riders in this Italian selection, but they haven't split the main field right now, so there will be 1 or 2 riders at the back suffering, but there's still around about 60 riders in this group.
All coming back together again. You see, let's the Italian now to drive on all of the time.
Maximilian Scherry riding pretty much to the front. Very much in the autumn of his career now, Max, but still having, I reckon, a pretty good season. He was so close to getting himself a stage victory in the Giro d'Italia earlier this year. He then was selected for the Great Britain team for the Olympic Games. And here, at this crunch time, riding very well to the front of the pack at the World Championships.
And there's a view of the farmland around Plouay. field now, work out how they can bridge a gap of 35 seconds, it's not much more than that, to the leaders. And all that here going out, the Swiss rider's getting his reaction, and this looks to me like Andre Schmill. Now they're going to have to react to this one.
Schmill looking very strong. He's dedicated the whole latter half of his season to this World Championship right now, and that really has caught the Italians hopping. The Italians looking over their shoulders now. They want to organise the chase at the front, but they need to chase down pretty rapidly. I can't really get an idea.
Okay, time to do some road. The seat's a bit uncomfortable. Okay, going to look down gear. Get off the phone. He's back up to the leaders, but now it's all over with. The leaders are the main field, and all of a sudden they blank it all out, and after more than 100 miles in the lead, the World Championship is again up for grabs.
Just man to make the junction there is Andre Schmill, but the main field are not really very far behind at the moment, and over the next few laps, every time we hit that climb up through the finishing straight in Tour, there will be attacks that will try to force the small group of riders off the front. Yeah, now change to level 98, as you can see. Certainly Andre Schmill there in the middle of the picture, announcing the colours. He's in form and wants to take out the win here.
Well, he's a risky man at this stage of any race. 2.5 laps still to go. And anybody in with a shout now, and quite a music in the World Championships. A lot of big teams with a lot of men left at the sharp end of this race. The Italians, the Spanish, the French, the top Belgians are still there as well. This is the corner that's caught so many people off guard. It looks as though we're coming round safely again.
Still Daniel Otaluka there on the front. He will, I would think, drift back a little bit. Now this is the rear of the pack. Now this is rather interesting here, because the man we're looking at right now is in fact Laurent Jalabert, who's riding himself into the pits. He was having serious difficulty there before, Phil, and he's now climbing up. And right up there alongside him is Gilles Bouvard. So that's a blow for the French, and I'm sure it's very much a psychological blow for Laurent Jalabert because of the worry of whether or not he has a contract for next season.
Yes, it wasn't quite worrying out in his mind, I don't think, but there we are, that's the way it goes. This is now attacked by Nicky Eversole. I think it might be Geert Seberg, wasn't it?
Geert Seberg, it was the brother of Marcus Seberg. Very good bike rider. These two guys normally spend their season riding for the Rabobank team. Marcus Seberg, if it does come down to a large group sprint at the end, is another man who has a serious chance of taking out a victory. This is the move by Seberg. The Italian's controlling the front of the main pack, but he's decided he's going to go out, and there's always going to be on this slope up through the finishing straight towards the summit of the climb outside of Tour.
We've had some wet days this week, but we've seen some excellent bike racing, I have to say. And how wonderful it was to see Mari Holden win the gold medal in the time trial, beating Jenny Longo. Right, she's never beaten until this year. She beat it in the Olympics for the silver and in the World for the gold.
56 kilometres to go. Seberg hasn't really got much of an advantage over the main field, but look how easy Andre Schmill looks there. So he looks over his shoulder to look at the faces of the other bike riders in this event here and moves forward just to make sure that he's at the front of the pack. I think this man is in excellent form today. In about 5th or 6th position there in the multicoloured jersey with the red and blue sleeves is Maximilian Chiandri. On the right in the orange is Nico Boger. And that group now has seriously been reduced in numbers because of all those accelerations. But what a crowd on the finishing line.
Fabulous atmosphere here as Max Chiandri got bitten, and here he is right on the front now. He's a man for championships, bronze medal in the Olympic Games 4 years ago in Atlanta. And wants to see if anybody can give him a hand here. Michael Bogart is the rider in the orange dress colours. But there's a little bit of a truce just been called for the minute at least.
Well, Chiandri started off the season very well with a win in the stage race in South Africa at the Vodacom Record Tour. But I think more importantly for him, there was the win that he got in the Tour of Lazio just before the Olympic Games. Brochard now on the left-hand side, accelerating, trying to get himself off the front of the pack. A big bike rider, very popular in France, but still got a black cloud over his head because of his involvement with that Festina affair.
So Laurent Brochard, he might well be the team leader of the French now, because there aren't that many of them left. Richard Belong is in there somewhere. But apart from that, I don't think we've got many people left in the race.
move was countered by Gianni Farrazane, the Italian rider in the middle there, the Mbappe rider, as Spain moves forward. One of these bike riders now can feel the crunch of this Plouay circuit, a very difficult circuit, and especially when you bear in mind that we're racing in excess of 45 kilometers an hour. Michele Bartoli there in 6th place, still looking for a move. Nobody yet has managed to break the stranglehold over this field.
Now, three bunches just strung out, but they're all coming back, you see. Toppling on the attack at the minute. And again, that long thin line, the Italian flag waving quite high now because we'll get more and more confident with the riders they've got left in this race. They surely have got the players to do a work, and this is going to be the start of it now because Bartoli's going again. Looks to see who's followed him. I can't see it. Might be Schmiel. I can't quite see behind him. I think it is.
It is Schmiel. Schmiel is right there. These two riders marking each other very closely. Rushing Henry riding well too there in 3rd position. The Italians still in great numbers in this group, Bill, and that is their advantage. If they see the right combination forming at the front, they can have 2 or 3 riders just sit up and let the gap go.
So the big boy is beginning to test the water now to see who is the strong man. That's a very typical Bartoli attack there. As fast as he can go and to see who follows before he continues the pressure. He saw the wrong man on his wheel in the field, so he stopped up and back in the field. That field is a very tenacious bunch today. They haven't really thinned out. In fact, Shandry's got control of the head now.
Shandry looking very cool. He should be riding like this. He's out alone riding. He doesn't have any team support at the moment. He has to ride his own race. But maybe thinking about moving on to a top squad. I think this is pretty funny. I'm Max Shandry riding for Great Britain all on my own. And I'm putting you guys into it. Michele Bartoli goes again. All of that, but right on his wheel there is Andre Schmiel.
I think with Andre Schmiel just before Bartoli went. But Bartoli thinks, well, this isn't worth it. Obviously, Andre's marking him now. So it's a 3-wheel again.
It's so strange to see guys beginning to get worried about the fact they're not able to open up a breakaway situation. This is still a very large group of riders at this stage in the World Championships. Maybe the circuit here in Plouay is not quite difficult enough to split the race to pieces. Schmiel now on the attack, being covered here by Spain, but there will be a major reaction behind, and that must certainly come from the Italians. This group very much staying together as they get closer to the finish line. Wondering if we might see a very large group come down to the line there, because nobody so far has been able to get very much more than 10 or 15 meters off the front of this main pack. There are still a couple of the big teams with a large number of representatives present, which means they'll always be able to organize the chase unless exactly the right combination goes off the front. But looking down there, it's a very big pack.
It is very big, but I'm always full of admiration for the big stars like Andre Schmiel and Michele Bartoli, always willing to attack and test the water, even though there are so many riders there, having more or less a free ride towards the finish. The big names of cycling never afraid to have a go and see what happens.
Belgium still got quite a number of representatives in the group here. Axel Merckx moving to the front of the pack right now. This is a tricky part of the course. Next time they come up to the line, they will face 1 lap to go to the finish.
Next to the ride on the front, he was having a chat with the team car, the way he was looking at the racing jersey, which his microphone is. All back together again, time and agree.
Axel Merckx in 2nd place there. The Swiss also pretty much at the front. Merckx sliding down to the lead. Probably will go and have a quick word with Andre Schmiel. Almost 38 years of age, Schmiel, and still super competitive in these one-day races. Very vital. I think next time we come to the finishing straight up through Plouay to try and launch the attack again. I don't think that the climb was quite hard enough. This is Lucas Shinto on the front. The super domestique, great friend of Maximilian Shandry's. He will ride his heart out for the team, the Squadra Azzurra right now.
I saw Lucas Shinto win in Tour de Rangnori a couple of years ago. That really was the only winner that he's ever had. It was a big surprise, and he goes so well. All along the two lines in beautiful French countryside in the west of France. Of course, through Britain now. These are wonderful roads to turn on, or just a cyclone if everyone on holiday goes to Brittany. But you'll find the roads are never flat, and the hills are often short and steep.
Well, there's Stangelaj in 4th position, the Slovenian rider.
saw him win the Commonwealth Bank Cycle Classic last year. That excellent race there, riding pretty much to the front. It was a very good Olympic road race with Axel, but I think today really playing the card of Andre Schmeel in excellent condition. The Swiss rider close to the front there was Mauro Gianetti wearing number 18. But it's a long thin line, and still I think quite a few riders in this group that have got pretty fresh legs right now.
The team is heading the finish. And that's, for us, is a man of the big day, the big weekends. He always rises to the occasion, and right there again. Sure, Father Elliott will be watching this with great interest now. The Italians are playing all of the cards right now, and they're not going anywhere. The power of the team sets the pace now.
Well, the glimpse of Richard Roy is around such a place in this group at the moment. Still very much a contender for the last lap here, because may well be we'll find ourselves with a strange race going up the front when we come up to the final ascent up to Roy. Shinto deciding that as far as he's concerned, he has no...
Okay, back to gain another few places.
You can check the Roy actually before the start of this race, but it's a super favourite to take out the win. Magnificent win at the Grand Prix of Kuwait. He loved this circuit. He rode very well in the Olympic road race. He just missed out on that move when Jan Ulrich got away with his teammate Andreas Cronin. And although he chased for an awful long time with his teammates, however, it seemed they were never able quite to make the junction. So if he can get the world title here, that would be a super event.
Just look at the team there. Shinto sitting behind him. He drives on. And Timber doesn't even look over his shoulder for any help. He just pulls this race to go wide for the left-hander. Fabulous riding, never afraid to grab. He's not thinking of a world title. And I remember Stephen Roach doing this for Sean Kelly in Villach in 87. End of the day, it was Roach who had to take out the title for Ireland.
Just a few riders going missing from that group right now, looking down there, but you still see Rochard and Charbonneau pretty much to this pack. Very much Axel Merckx going off the front. This is a slight attack by Axel moving forward off the front of the pack, but it looks to me as though it's the same moving forward.
We're riding at the track towards the finishing line. We hear the bell this time. And Axel Merckx has turned around the tactics a little bit by launching Weatherton.
Feel the pain right now, open down there. Number 1 is still in this group as well.
Sandra Craig, the American, a handful of World Championships. He rode a great year with Italia as well. These are the survivors now. There's an awful lot of them.
There's an awful lot starting now. So let's do a little bit of a gap appearing at the back of the main field. Look at the face of this man, though. Second in the recent Paris Tours, the winner of the Tour of Flanders. Magnificent move. Everybody thought the race was over when this man leapt off the front and held on by fractions of a second to win.
Yes, that was a great ride. Now, Italy again launching an attack.
Shifting his foot. Just right in the action there in 4th position in the white shirt with a red stripe down the middle. The Italian rider on the front right now is Sergio Barbero, who rides for the Lampre squad normally. Another move coming, that looks like Capto. That looks very much like Kelly Barty. Very low down over the front of the machine. This may well be the move. This is the move by Kelly Barty. But look at the reaction. Andre Schmeel.
There's a scramble behind that. Schmeel has marked Bartley throughout this race. Clearly nailed him down as the number 1 favourite along with Andre Schmeel. And every time he's made a move, he's cruised over that gap. He's just cruised over it. And Bartley will just say, oh, not you again. As the reaction has come from the field, this will hurt. But Michele Bartoli, in his sprinting style he has, stays low on the bars. He looks across at Andre Schmeel. Schmeel will not come through. I'm not sure if Merckx is back in the pack or whether he's still just in front.
He's back in the pack. The man on the front of the main field right now is Frederic Guidon, but it's the Spaniards who are reacting. Moving forward, Spain has decided now to try that. Looks very much like Oscar Freire who's coming forward right now. This is the front of the main field, and I don't think that Kelly Barty will be too happy with the fact that Andre Schmeel came across there, but he really didn't have the power to open up the gap. And Scotty Sutherland going through there in about 10th position.
He's ridden a very keen race just now as Scott Sutherland. Never been far from the front, never been on the front. Michele Bartoli is beginning to lose his temper now. Everywhere he goes, Andre Schmeel follows. The but doesn't assist in the chase, because Smil is a man for the late attack, and it's too early.
True Italian tempo coming through right now. Bartoli. That was the move that was going to ride into a lone victory here at the World Championships. But how easy it was, Phil, that Andre Schmiel rode across there, and that acceleration by the main field is forming a rather large group at the front. They're split into three groups right now, with more even further back. But they're all sweeping across the road right now, and I think it's all going to come back together once again.
Well, I have to say, if Schmiel did throw his hat in the ring here, that bunch would be cracked all over the place, and then it would be a race of 2 or 3 men. But one rider who needs to sit himself here is the guy in the orange there, Michael Bogart. Good performance by him today, he's been in the world of things, and a good couple of bad seasons.
Certainly, as we saw, he was a major contender for high placing in the 4,000. He certainly hasn't built up to that over the last couple of years.
Watching Michael Anderson of Sweden, surely.
Michael Anderson is still in the group. This is one of the Ukrainian riders, I think, pretty close to the front of the track right now. Merckx on the left-hand side. Merckx looking very good. He's got the kind of rider you want to allow to go off the front.
Really cracking in the middle all the pass.
Across the scramble with Christian. Sitting in the back there, 130. And that is Igor Pigachi. And David. And the Davian rider, that's a country that Andre Schmiel used to be a member of. He's got the ball now, and this is the Belgian Axel Merckx on the attack. Axel knows when to attack. He has to attack and finish alone. He's not the world best sprinter, but he is remember stable in this year in the Giro d'Italia. He took it well, coming back to the breakaway, and going straight past them and winning the stage. He's going now, and he's going to go at a good time.
This is a good time because there's a lot of marking going on in the back of that group there. Bartoli and Schmiel have been following each other everywhere. Axel Merckx now for May just to pick them at the right time. But the wandering action coming from the Swiss team on the front of the main field. But if Axel can get himself 15 or 20 seconds, I think the way the race is developing right now, he may well be able to move on that advantage. Because there are so many riders in the pack still watching each other.
Oh, the crowd still cheer. Belgian will know. As he comes up with little flag, there's the Belgian flag now. I'm not sure they saw him go by, but they were certainly ready the right flank. As Merckx has got this little gap now. He had the legs to open it, now he's got the legs to stay away. No immediate counter-attack here. It's the Spanish who are having to drive on behind. I think Schmiel at this moment would be rather happy that Merckx has gone clear.
He'll take some pressure off in the season that group. And you know, over the last couple of kilometres, there were 1 or 2 riders disappearing off the back of this group. But it is still a very large group. It's the Spanish on the front.
Yeah, so-
And then Gianni Parazzi still looking very comfortable there.
Plus distance behind
Merckx's face is
my
really a picture of
big
the
deal.
language at the moment. He hasn't really opened up
Goal rider.
advantage over the gun.
Coming up to the bell low, just 1 lap to go of the 19 remains. Britain and America have 1 representative each in that rather diminishing bunch now. Max Chambry and Cam McRae are the 2 riders. There's the bell. Just under 6 hours in the saddle. And a massive crowd here giving a lovely atmosphere in Blue 8. And the French still have a chance. There off to the left of our picture is Richard Veron. Rochard is in here somewhere as well.
Parazzi is the Italian on the front, and this is a very strange situation. Parazzi today riding for Italy. Normally he rides on the same team as Axel Merckx, and that is the Maffei squad. He's putting the pressure on right now, but Axel is not going to lay down arms very easily. If he can just keep this pressure on for another kilometre or so, he may well just break the back of the chase. But the Italians are still in very strong numbers, and they will organise themselves at the front of this pack and try and pull him back.
Those of you who remember Del Eddy racing as I do, then at this point of the race, if Eddy was clear, the rest of the field would have let him go, because they would have had no answer to an attack from Eddy Vaz at this stage of a World Championship event. Not quite the same with his son Axel. He's not got the talent of his dad, but he's certainly got the guts. He's always ready to have a go. And he's got a little gap now, and it's 13 kilometres from the gold medal.
One thing that Eddie Merckx cannot believe is how hard his son works. He's always amazed at the work that Axel puts in to get himself to this level of the sport. And with a name like Merckx on your shoulders, it's not an easy thing to do, but he wears it and carries it with a hell of a lot of pride. I've seen him at training camps. He'll get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do weight training,
build himself up before going out for a bike ride with the rest of the team. I can't believe you've seen it, but someone must have told him, never did a 6 o'clock, no, I told him at the time. So it's almost over here. It's the Spanish who've done the damage, and let's not forget that Oscar Freire is still in there. The man who won the title last year as a surprise. Now a totally changed man 12 months on, and the team's still working for him. 12.5 kilometres to go.
Great attack by Axel, but you can see the Spain can really believe that they've got the winner in their midst, because Oscar Freire is still in this group here. He is one of the fastest sprinters on the block so far this season. The green jersey there moving forward into about 10th place is the Slovenian rider Goran Stangelai, and another attack coming off the front of the main field. Again, this looks like Italy on the attack, trying to split this race into pieces, and Axel slipping further back. This is Davide Rebellin on the front. Even Rebellin today has decided that he too will work for the team leader of the Squadra Azzurra, the Italian team today, Matteo Bartoli. This is what it looks like at the back of the pack, and this is a place you do not want to be.
Relaxing a little bit for Marco.
He's got good form as David Rebellin, and he's working very hard now at the front of this race. There he is. The crowd are going beside themselves. There's Scott Sutherland, that white jersey. Now that would be a turn if he landed a big one.
Absolutely, what a win that would be for Scotty Sutherland after the career that he's had. He has had so many ups and downs. He nearly lost his life in a dramatic crash where he was run over by the team car of Case Green. Strangely enough, Case Green had been his team manager on the previous season. At the back of the pack, though, France are not really looking all of that good in a race that's on their own territory. And the man we looked at
150 metres to climb.
former medalist at the World Championships just 12 months ago.
Indeed he was. And now we've got Switzerland driving at the front. And these are now the final selection of this year's World Championship. They got off to a slow start. They allowed a breakaway of 9 to run the motion of the race. And now the real stars of the race have thrown everything they've got into the attacks. And they've been monitored and marshalled and put back in the pack.
Sixth position there is Oscar Freire. He must be feeling pretty confident right now. The outgoing world champion is just hoping
Okay,
that
I
they
am
can get this together, because he
waiting for Marco again.
the others, I think, have got to try and step away from this event, because he is another attack. Schmiel again, this man will not give up. Been recoached so many times in his career as being a follower, and he's certainly not doing that now.
I was about to say, if you're a betting person like the putter, go out and guess which kilometre Schmiel will attack, and he's done it already. This is a huge effort. He's gone early for my money, because they've only shown him about 11 kilometres to go here, and he's got the hill still to come. It might be a good psychological time though, because they may think he's gone too early.
Well, that's what he said in the Tour of France, if you remember when he rode up the front, that nobody's going to attack that far from the end in front of a large group. He did that and held a 10-15 second advantage all the way down to the finish. He now has around about 4 or 5 second advantage, but the pressure is on in that main field. So it's a big long line, and I would say if we got down there a little closer, we'd see a Spanish jersey on the front.
Well, you know, Andre Schmiel has made no secret of the fact he was training for this. He turned his back on the Olympic Games to ride the World Championship. He still had the target of the World Cup, which he is the defending holder. This is the attack. There's a bit of a playback here. The Spanish riders all looking at him, but not having the legs to reach him. Now they're trying to settle in here with a bit of work being done by Beltran.
Serious names, names we're used to hearing at races like the Tour of France and the Vuelta a España, but Spain getting themselves organised, and they still have a large number of riders in this group. 3 Spanish riders moving to the front right now, Phil, to organise the chase. They want to pull Andre Schmiel back into the fold, because they will then try and set up a sprint victory for Oscar Freire. This, though, is an incredible move by Andre Schmiel, approaching 38 years of age, and he's still got the guts and the determination to go out and race. His excuse for that is that he turned professional very late in life. He was a member of the Soviet Union team that went all over the world in the days of amateurs and professionals. And he turned professional very late on in life, but still has the thrill and the drive to go out on the attack. And you know what? I think he may well have hit them right.
Well. His best ever position at World Championship was 6th. He got that a long time ago, 7 years ago in fact. But he's been a man of the single-day races. Holds that corner time, he really should have taken a wider sweep, but nevertheless he's accelerating away again. This is his big move now, Andre Schmiel. He's seen his teammate Merckx try and fail. Now he's committed himself to the action here. There's not a long way to go, but it is still long if you're holding up the best in the world.
Still only around about 100 metres. There he is. It doesn't seem like very far, but for the moment they're having a hard time nailing down that gap. The Spanish team are the ones who've taken the responsibility on the front of the pack. Michele Bartoli has not been able to get off the front of this group, so I think they've decided to lay down arms for the moment and wait till they get a little closer to the finish. But Spain are in the driving seat right now. In the middle of that pack is Oscar Ferreira. There on the far side is the Italian Fabergé. But this man, Phil, is really going for it. It's a do or die effort right now. He has not got a second chance.
Ahead of the race, the crowd now conspicuous by their absence. The majority heading down for the finish line to see the race come in. Andre Schmel, the grand favourite, alongside Michele Bartoli before the start, is making his bold bid, and it is a bold bid as well. This is a shaky bit of the course. He rocks and rolls with it on these corners. He knows the front will have much more difficulty getting round than he has.
Well, it's all the risk in this corner, but he doesn't want to put himself so he throws off. He's round there pretty safely now. The road is almost dry, and it's not a tricky road because of the fact the pavement is fairly rough. He's not likely to see those wheels slipping underneath him. As soon as he gets to a straight part of the first road, he's going to use the acceleration again to maximum speed, and here he's looking at 55 kilometers an hour on this descent.
Well, this is a superb ride. I don't think anybody would be disappointed with a man like Schmel got a world title. He'd be a very just holder of it. He's been a six-day winner, a single-day winner rather, for many, many years. And now it looks as though he may have broken the spirit of the chase.
Not just that, it looks as if they're closing down on him now. They're getting themselves organised at the front of that pack. It has never really been very much more than 5 or 6 seconds at the moment. And there's another colour of jersey moving forward down the road, and I would say that it's probably...
Okay, so the riders ahead of me,
to the front of this pack.
the few riders at least, are still climbing right now.
High speed, axing now all the way down to the finish line, and the fact that Spain and Italy are joining forces, Phil, I think it's going to put paid to this man's escape.
A dire effort now by the Belgian rider.
So it's a slim chance that I might catch the next three.
He's realised he hasn't broken the spirit of this race. There is coming back up alongside him. This could well turn out to be a massive front spin for the world title.
As they appear to be split up.
Now, they're up and out somewhere. They're all back together again now. The Spanish rider, the other Spanish rider, by the way, is Norwegian,
Right, this is on a hill.
number 10. And now Belgium will
They can't draft anyway.
Still an awful lot of riders in this group. Surprising to see the Belgians throwing another man out there. Finished here and they're going off the front right now. And I'm going to have to throw it over to you, Phil, because I can't remember the last time there was such a large group coming down towards the finish line at the end of a World Championships.
Well, I think I'll throw it back for you, because I'm not sure I can either without getting all the butts out. This has been a fabulous world championship in the last couple of laps. I can't say it's been a record breaker earlier on, but there's been a lot of boys here believe in themselves and believe that they have their men on their team. The Spanish are riding their hearts out now for a repeat win of Oscar Freire. He started off with wins right at the start of the season to show us he was a world champion. And now, well, wouldn't it be great if he took the world title into the year 2001? He can't blame his
I think maybe Sola and Narco
a wonderful race
will
right
be working together.
Really magnificent. Marcel Strauss is the Swiss rider on the back of the main field here, but really the action is all at the front. Stura Stengele is the rider in the green jersey, the Slovenian rider, but the big organisation on the front of this pack is coming from the Amarillo red and white jersey of Spain. They will ride as fast as they can down into the finishing town here of Coué, and that's when they hope they will set up the sprint for their man wearing number 1 there, Oscar Freire, the outgoing world champion.
Javier Cerezo, Beltran, the rider setting the pace up there in the hope. And the other third place is Rubiera of Spain, and no vision of number 1, the world champion, was feeling now that he has a chance unloading the competition. Gorash Stengeli, the Slovenian, who's had his best season ever, and he's still in, and has a reasonably fast sprint as well.
Swedish rider Niklas Axelsson is in the sprint, so too is Charles Viron. Right in there as well. Still Jean-Cyril Robin is there, but the Spanish the Delta on the front, they're doing an absolutely magnificent job of setting up the sprint for their man Oscar Freire. Going through there is Sergio Barbaro. On his wheel is the other rider from the Marseille squad, that's young Fabergé. A lot further down is Michele Bartoli, setting himself up to be a magnificent sprint. Soon the Italians, I think, are going to take over the pace making at the front.
They've got to launch the attack, will decide because it's nearly over. And here comes the attack again. Will be a surprise, but not a bad world champion. Sergio is facing saying he won't keep away though, but he might as long as the counter-attack behind. I'm not sure why the Italians chasing each other. I can't believe that was Michele Bartoli. He halved the gap, the advantage that Barbaro had there. Now it's Michael Bogert going down the far side. He's got a Belgian on his wheel, and it looks as if it may well still be Andre Schmiel, but they're all queuing up there down the right-hand side. Team captains sometimes cannot accept they have to become lieutenants. Because there's no doubt there that he should have given Barbaro his chance. Barbaro has blown it now, he's dropped down. Michael Bogart is launching another attack here. Chris Pearce is in the big. That looks like Oscar Freire is going to look at third. Absolutely, third place for Freire, but the white jersey there is Scott Sutherland running a magnificent finale in the World Championship. Michele Bartoli is in fifth position right now, and the sprint is certainly going to open up quite soon. The gaps are starting to appear at the back of the field, but it's still hard to say who's going to take out the win. David Arevalo with the glasses on is also there as well now. Bogart gritting his teeth, but it looks as though he's losing ground. Scott Sutherland still looking very cool. And this looks like it's Chris Pearce here, still setting the pace. Freire is waiting and waiting and waiting. He doesn't want to go yet. He's dead on his used up his team, pulling back all of those attacks. The final attack from Andre Schmiel, who's still right in the middle there. Schmiel at the moment in around about fifth place, looking over his shoulders. David Byland, Francesco Casagrande now moving down the outside. We haven't seen him at all so far. He may well hit the right foot. This is the move that's going to take him to the Italian World Championships. The big gear man of the peloton is no doubt turning his 55 chain wheel on a hill as he goes clear. This now is the attack by Francesco Casagrande. But you know, Paul, that field is still reacting. They're all looking at one another, but the pace is still high. In fact, we've got David Byland at the front, and he's still at the front for Belgium. Well, you know, if he's looking at each other like this, he will hit them at the right time. He's only got a pretty smart advantage. It's not very much more than 5 or 6 seconds. Exactly the same advantage that Andre Schmiel had. Just a few kilometers ago. Some of them are going to have to organise the pace at the front. They will have to be staying when they go over the riders left. This is maximum effort now for Francesco Casagrande. Lost his head Italian final time trial. Has to live with that one. But now he's trying to make amends with the world champion. He's over the top of the zero time. He's got his highest gear going.
Heart rate is pretty high.
I reckon we're looking at 20 to 25 riders here. Hunting down Casagrande. He's got to take as deep as he can. His whole body cell's going to be screaming right now. He's trying to get himself right back on. Because he knows that main field is a little bit further back down the road than here, but soon they will start to organise himself. This is how he works. He tackles the rider from Switzerland, tries to get onto his wheel, but he opened up the gap very smartly indeed. He timed it to perfection, and you know now they must organise themselves. They're going to pull him back, but this may well be the super comeback that this man has been looking for. Well, that was either Nicky Aebersold or Oscar Hamilton. Perhaps if he had gone onto the back wheel of Casagrande, then they might have flown straight away, but as it is, the reaction is coming now all of the time. This field is closing back down. That's Schmiel now trying to end it. Bogert looks over his shoulder at the same time. It's not me. I'm looking for somebody else. Well, that acceleration by Schmiel has brought it back just that little bit. Every time they slow down like this, it will give the advantage to Francesco Casagrande. If they don't get him by the last kilometre, this man is going to fly to a world championship. It is still, though, a huge group. Coming to the front of that group is Maximilian Chiandri. Chiandri should not be doing that right now. He should sit in the pack and wait for the chance to try and get the win. Absolutely, Max is on his own. Let's not forget. I think it's about 23 riders. I quickly counted in the helicopter there. That's Casagrande trying to hang on, but the field has still time. It's a long straight run into the finish yet. We'll click on it again shortly. Casagrande, though, is a rider now who's going to have to be totally committed. There's no way now if he gets caught, he'll win the world title. It's win alone or win nothing. Ooh, the pain, it really does hurt now. Every pedal stop takes him slightly closer to that world championship. The title is looking over his shoulder, and that's a sign of no confidence at all. You mustn't do that. You must completely concentrate. But you know what? They're right there. The work on the front is coming from Axel Merckx. Yes, I think he just put that second look back and ball back in. It's not going to work. He's got time on with his nose, took another kick to the finish. He on the way to the sprint. And so Casagrande looked like a winning move. He's now back into the fold. But the group is down to about 22 somebody else has nipped off the front there. I think they might be on that ride, but there's another low wheel. It's not Francesco Casagrande anymore. And we know they're going to have to react pretty smartly because inside the last kilometre, that's a dangerous time to move. It looks like he might be towards a Swiss rider. Oh no, it's not. It's a Belgian rider, Chris Spears, isn't it?
Really is. Schmier's gone. I don't believe it. David Rebeli is the Italian coming across, trying to make contact. Schmier going over the top of the work done there by Axel Madsen. What a performance by this man. He's coming up to the finishing straight very smartly now. Rebeli is in second position, but they're really picking up right behind him.
Well, this is such a typical finish to a single-day race for Andre Schmier. It is time to take it on the line. I've seen it so many times. He's made the move. The sprint is starting right behind him now. He's picked up David Rebeli. As the race up towards the line, Schmier is not going to hang on. They're coming so quickly here. And that looks to me as though it's Roman Veenstein is on the line. Well, it was a surprise in the end after all of that. Veenstein has got the victory from Latvia. We never talked about him throughout the whole of the championship, but he was always there. And the polls will feel vindicated for the chase down because Virginia Struck on the right has finished in second place.
Based on Struck there, second place is not good with it. This is a remarkable performance here for a moment there. I thought Shamila got it there on the left-hand side, but what a magnificent lead out it was for Weinstein. Weinstein used Schmier right until the last moment with about 50 meters to go. He flipped by him and coming right up to the line. The throw of the bike for second place for Struck. But what a man there, Roman Weinstein, the revelation of Tirreno Adriatico, and what a surprise. We hardly saw him in the whole race, and he gets the win.
And Oscar Freire will defend his championship as best he could with a brilliant third place here. Now watch the rider in that maroonish coloured jersey. Roman Weinstein, former military world road race champion. Usually participated by the former Iron Curtain countries. Struck coming in a late run. Gets second. Bartley gets third. No, it's fourth. Getting fourth behind Freire. And I think it was Toby Steinhauser who was right up there as well. There's the scrum. This was the end of the championship. I don't know what language I'll speak to him in. I know he does speak Italian. And this is the first ever World Championship for Latvia.
Absolutely remarkable. He timed that to perfection as we look down through the gap there. Great move though by Andre Schmier. He really did fight right down to the last moment. He never gave up. And even inside the last 500 meters after that last lap, the second went for it. But the day belongs to the man we're looking at right now. Roman Weinstein, he's a great performer. And I think he's going to be a good world champion.
And this brings to an end the wonderful pleasure racing here despite the weather conditions and despite the lack of some big names. Jeremy Bates, the non-junior world champion, the first ever from New Zealand. Ryan Holden, the time trial world champion from the United States. And for Great Britain, a junior world champion for the first time ever as well in the Nico Cup. And you look here, a man enjoying the boxing match with an invisible competitor. Roman Veenstein, the new world champion, and he's been so consistent, I don't think he'll be surprised at all if he gets more than 9 wins next year, which is a total so far for Oscar Freire.
We've seen win an awful lot more races. 11 wins last year. Weinstein's at the top of the leaderboard ahead of Gilly Struck. Freire in third position. Michele Bartley a little bit disappointed there in fourth place, and it was Tobias Steinhauser in fifth.
7 Scott Sunderland, he'd be delighted with that. He could have gone better though. And Sean McRae in the top 5 last year, now makes 8th this time out. That's a good result for the American. He really is a great bike rider. Look at the crowd here, witnessing a big run sprint in the end. A very unlucky Andre Schmier, who played every card he had in his hand, and it didn't work out for him. And yet on any other occasion, it probably would have. And so Latvia get the man across the line first, and that's a nation who really supports their heroes. I think it was just down a new one here. So, Weinstein looks over his shoulder and sees that the Polish team did their job well, because Struck clearly had performed, getting second place. A good result for Poland as well, and a nice congratulations too from Zbigniew Struck. And he salutes the pit helpers on the right, and indicates second place for me. And thanks guys for all the hard work you did to bring back that original breakaway of 9, which went so early on in the race. And that gentleman, oh dear me, that's the way it goes when you want to get up and kiss your man. That will be very typical, and there'll be a lot of celebrations tonight in the Latvian camp. We'll all enjoy themselves. There he is, Now called to the podium. He's probably most on that list, but why shouldn't he be? We never saw him at the front of the bunch, but he has his most, and that's when he crossed the line.
Very rare as the world champion pop out of the rack and defend as well as he did today. And then all of the Spanish team. But this man will see an awful lot more than this wearing all shell with rainbow jersey on his back. He knows which team he is working because there is Seattle and the go to the new Belgian team, the Dolo squad. And that, I think, really today will certainly put his price up just a little bit. And he really deserves to get emotional.
Absolutely. Tears of great happiness for Rowan Henshains. And this wonderful supporting crowd of great receives from Michelle Omni, Senior Vice President of UCI. The rainbow jersey, can't believe this. And looking down at the white jersey with the rainbow band that every cyclist in the world wants to wear once. There, I think he's disappointed. He won it last year as a surprise and came back in the sprint and finished third. We'll see him on the floor for a while, yes, I think. And he's going to wear it, I think, with proudness when he comes to the Tour of Lombardy shortly. And that in itself will see Schmidt in action again, this time taking on the challenge from the World Cup leader, James Farr. But there's the silver medal of Phineas Brook. He's in his mid-30s now and riding better than ever. There's no surprises in this championship. They all deserve a place on the podium. So we look down and listen to the anthem from Latvia, first say goodbye to Pure after a great day of racing. And don't forget, next up will be the Tour of Lombardy, another head-to-head battle. Until then, before showing, I'm Phil saying bye-bye.
Okay, I need to do my heart rate. So I'm going to just jump off a bit quickly because just put the gears first of all. Get a bit of power up so I can coast a little bit longer. I'm going to change here, background video.
Hello. Well, Cabello, in fact, was a winner of the stage in England of the Tour de France this year, and he came down into Brighton. I'm trying to get across now, but the bunch will be acting very, very quickly, and Espinosa not getting away now. Small group getting up, 3, 6, 8 riders trying to stay from the field. First really big flurry of activity.
Okay,
a small group break here, try and get
back in the bike again.
Montana briefly, but the field have been very, very vigilant indeed. And the stars, I think, are waiting to play the cards in the last 2 hours of this race. Because it is a very exposed course, as you can see, and judging by the past 2 hours this week, every indication that the sun is going down just as hot as it does every day. A nice picture that is though. Long thin line on very angry field now. The World Championship enters in those crucial frames. Montana, by the way, is retired almost immediately after being caught. It lasted about another 15 kilometres. I think Espinosa is realising too that his escape is not going to have any effect on these riders. They're just monitoring his progress. They've always got him where they want him. Rides for the Spanish RTF team. Next year, of course, the World Championship will have moved into October. That might provide you a very different race. This is our German trying to get across on the climb. First chance to have a look at the climb. Loosely translated, it literally is called the road to victory and reaches the finish line on the top. With the feel of moving to keep the tempo and keep control of everybody. Everybody is staying at the head of the field on the last World Championship. And Espinosa, I think, is going to have company very, very soon indeed. Looking over his shoulder now. The field are coming back together, and in fact, an immediate counter-attack here looks like Lee Sherman from Australia, ending his first full season, but sadly rumours are not holding his contract in Europe next year. 8 laps to go now. Look at that, 10 minutes and 18 seconds. Now the field is all together. And now we're going to see a very different race. That looks like Lee Sherman trying to get up. One rider standing up the front. I don't think it's Espinosa. I think he's just caught him. Michel Lorraine now, what a different rider he's become this year. He's still Espinosa. So Espinosa just hanging on one more. Swept away by a very active Michel Lorraine of France. And now the Italians are putting in a pitch. This is David Cassani. And number 8 is Giovanni Paladin. Paladin also having a great season. Well, the Italians are going to want to do well here. They're waiting now with how they feel. It's time for a change. They're allowed 2 Colombians to take this race so far, but now just look at the number of blue jerseys in that lead group. There's a slight split in the back. Sign of tied legs. They come up toward the end of the lap.
Okay, so I'm kind of recovery mode.
Indeed, and a good lap time. Look at that, 19 minutes and 16 seconds now. That's a fast lap. And the signing takes them through as they complete lap number 12. 7 laps to go. 7 times 13 kilometres, and that'll bring them up to the full distance of 252 kilometres. Massimo Girotto takes a look across at who's setting the pace now. They're starting to try and work out who are the strong men as we head in towards the high afternoon sun. Temperature now 96 degrees Fahrenheit. Massimo Girotto looking around, seeing who can help, and it seems to be the French are marking the Italians very, very closely here. This is
I think Trent is trying too hard.
The last 2 years of champion of Italy, so they're all putting a waiting behind the attack now. The attacking is keep the pace high and see what happens. The Italians are very, very good at this. They're reported to be on a massive bonus if they provide a winner on the team. On the lead to about $200,000. Not sure.
Come on, boss. You've got my foot in the wheel. That's how they get to the trace.
Still, the Spanish riders trying to launch a little pace in the front. And this rider up here now is still Gonzalo. In fact, he's stopped places with Delgado back into the field. Gonzalo is only going up front now. And that's Scott Sunderland of Australia who's up there on the right of our picture. The Germans have come across. The road old Aldas setting the pace. And just behind Dario Kikuchi. Taking a little bit of a turn to the bend now. Some of the big names coming up. 6 laps to go and they've got a split on the field. Small little group. Again, it's been fourth on the climb. This is Gonzalez. The Spanish have been very active today. The Spanish speakers indeed. Let's not forget Colombia. Now Gonzalez will be very pleased to take a look over his shoulder because he can't expect to win the world title on a break at this stage on his own, but if you get this group across to him, then it might be a good championship. That's why he's looking over, seeing what's coming, and that group is coming up. He spotted it, now he's going to relax a little bit, let them come up. Rest while he can and see just who is in this group. Well, this is quite a significant group. There's Pavel Kikuchi there. Well, Aldad is here, Scott Sunderland. That's the underrated rider. Very, very upset with TDM, didn't name the Tour de France team this year. And I think there's some reason, but then unfortunately he's Australian and not Dutch. Well, Aldad, at the front of that group, very nice picture for you. Well, you got 4 lots.
Okay, it's 10:30.
There are opinions of what's in that breakaway.
I need to finish this ride within the hour.
The pressure got riders up there, the Italians have. So that's why the pressure going to have to do something about it. Not surprisingly, and that's why we get back in. Who's right there? There's someone. Now there, we're blowing his coffee a bit early on. Richard Laurent is here. Now there's Kikuchi. We're now we saw the bars with a high temperature. And that's Laurent actually shouting for Kikuchi because the gaps closed. Also in this group, number 106 there. And that is Udo Boltz. And obviously on the rise, we've got Aldad and Boltz. This is Aldad. Well played for Boltz. Aldad, very good finisher on. Boltz is more the rider for the win. He's had a enormous Tour de France. In fact, this year he's had a great season. Kikuchi always gets in the rules.
No, that looks like the leaders are about to hit sprint. Seconds.
Armstrong is going to have to get up there sooner or later. Only 10 seconds on the left and 10 seconds on the left. You've got 2 over Mike and Roman. First you've got 2 riders, 3 riders in that chase group. And there's the helicopter seeing that this group is getting away a little bit now. Richard Laurent. Scott Sunderland. And that's rather a cool picture for the riders in these conditions now, as you would suggest. And this is a very useful carrot now. There's the first time check, 30 seconds. And all started by that rider there, Arsenio Gonzalez. Trying to start here is Eric Gorky. Gonzalez there on the wheel of Aldad. Now, is there going to be some reaction here? I think it's registered probably. He's waving his arms around. And this is a chase behind, I think. 1 or 2 riders in the back. They've had a crash here. And one of the falls has been brought alarming. I think the other one was Fauzi. Army. And the other rider is Shani Paladin. So these two riders back to the convoy, trying to rejoin the field as fast as they can. Well, they were almost ahead of the third when they went down, but the one bar camera, we never saw them go. Showing out to the Valley of the Temples. The steepest points that comes in the last kilometre of this run is around about 13%. And then you have about 300 metres of flat, semi-flat station right up to the finish line itself. So it's not entirely a sprinter's race, this is a strong man's race. You can make it a little bit early and then hang on to the end. Sunderland. Gonzalez. Riding very, very well indeed. And there's Wilbur coming up now. The anti-strap Wilbur. First we heard of him was at the Tour de France, and the Tour de Champions Day 1989. As a young member of the Russian or the Soviet team, as it was. He led the race for a while before he met his left up to the Devil's Kitchen, I think, in the Catskill Mountains. And now Outlaw went on to him. Raul Alcala, one of the noted non-stars today, and that's another rider who will be hanging at the wheel at the end of the season. What a personality gone from the field. Here's Roderick. Team Verdun, they moved together when they turned pro, and of course Verdun this year has run in great style the Tour
Right.
but since then we've
Can
not had before.
fourth guy catch up to Nick and close.
Well, Paladin and Royal Army are almost on the tail of that platform now, here. And we're on the Clyde itself. This is broken. Well, the pedals are right up behind that breakaway now on the side because they picked up all the lead cars. Martin Boone there from home, the sheep from his head, trying to get things sorted out. The other motorbikes out of the way. Because they're going to close in very rapidly. Now we're going to see a regrouping here, I think. Now this is the middle of the front. Now this is what the hill that's easy to move on. Followed by number 10, Berra, Nino Balan San Remo. Probably this season coming as well, but he's had with so much strength now. Number 99 is Charbonnet. So the next one will be grouping on the climb, but he's already cracking again. And we approach the 5 hour mark. Scott Sunderland still there at the head. Keeping the tempo high, still 5 laps to go. 1927, that's a very good lap. And looking here, the Armstrong's running across in the group. Lance Armstrong began shouting, the field is split this time. Up on the fifth climb, the 5 laps to go rather, the field is gone. She's trapped in what appears to be the third group now, and at the back of it is that. That's Uberman, the champion of the final week of the Tour de France this year, when he really did take on Mizaki Drain. So a little bit of time out of him, although we have to feel that he can already take it at times without using too much energy. But even so, he finished second overall, and this is now Francisco Casagrande, another Italian having a day. On the descent to Agrigento and away from the finishing line. And Casagrande, no great winner, won school race this year, the Grand Prix of the industry, but he is an excellent rider. And one that everybody wants on the team, a really strong rider, number 4. One day he's going to win a big event, I'm quite sure that he's going to get his chance. Well, Uberman is feeling that it's time to try and break up this race. Everybody's paying a little bit too much attention because they continue to be closing the gap. Sooner or later, the elastic must snap. There's Armstrong sitting back down the line, having his check out. This is Udo Boltz doing likewise. Provenzano goes through. Second year, the champion of Italy, but that's the only thing he ever does is win the championship of Italy. He's not a great performer in races away from his home country. But he certainly puts up the off-good performance. Shoveling. Crowley language. And that was a good shot of the 18 Comision. This is a little bit playing a big part again. I'm going to Sani. Sani is one of those solid riders. I remember reading in the King of the Mountain, the Tour de France a couple of years back. He was lacking because he doesn't see himself as a climber, but he is certainly a very aggressive rider. And approaching through 1982, I think, 12 years as a professional. Now, there's no real pattern forming yet except the strength of the intelligence clearly noted. And Richard Lorenzo France consistently up in the moves as well. And there's the chance to see Armstrong now. Eric Working goes through as well. Richard Ulrich. Now, any one of these names will be worthy of a World Championship. And then Bjorn Ries from Denmark also up here now. Norm Maglas. Maglas. Richard Pondes. Now, these riders all come. Pondes has refound his form. His operation at the start of the season was kept him out in the Tour de France and Tour of Italy. And then he's come back in the Tour of Great Britain, and in fact he won that race, having run in the opening time trial to score again during the race in the next time trial. He ran out the winner, and since then has been back on form. Whether the legs will be distance so. Andre Schlill, 271, well, has won Paris this year. But he's certainly living in the World Cup now, so I don't think he's going to make it. Let's see about 25 riders forming at the front. Another Italian up there, it's Bruno Cenialta. This is the champion of Switzerland now, Luigi Pittini. Not a big rider, but he picked up the championship, and in fact he finished 17th in the World Championships last year. And he well read the right move again too. And Bruno, 260, is the Spanish rider who made this split. Scott Sutherland again in a move. Armstrong, inspired by his victory last year. And then still flowing perhaps, feeling that this is his jersey and he's not going to lose it lightly. He's regularly close so far. And this is what she's trying to get across. I think we've got to use some polish everyone. The line is using the only stroke on the course to repair or make good. And then they want the angle losses. I think look at the ball in really in attack. Number 12 is Cantani, Michael Cantani. The final of the year, one of the nicest climbers I've ever seen in action, and second and third place in the two big tours. This course really should suit him if he finishes on top of the hill. So the line is still in the breakaway, setting the pace nicely, and we've got in fact the chase being enacted now by this man here. And in fact, Barry Kikuchi has got Stefan Erlo of France going across with him. And look at how as he goes up this climb, he's got the big ring on and he's trying very, very hard to close this gap quickly. Before that breakaway goes clear. Erlo is not going to help him because he knows he has a teammate up there, but so too is Kikuchi, who doesn't seem concerned about that fact. He's getting himself across. He won't see Erlo as a long-term thing, but I don't think so. He may feel it's worth the gamble. And there's another rider there. Absolute no man's land as well. Kikuchi, that fine piece of riding for him. He's on the tail. And in fact, somebody else has come up as well. Right, the group has got a couple of Kikuchi on the climb, and they're pulling about 4 or 5 more riders up there. pace being set by Chengiato. Now we have a large number of Italian jerseys in this league group. Things are going according to plan, I would think. Chengiato setting the pace. Mourinho, stage winner this year in the Tour of Italy. Finally, it was a particularly mountainous stage where it was hilly, but he had a flat finish and won it. He held on by the skin of his racing shorts. And this is Francisco Casagrande. Scott Sutherland. Almost in the camera there is Mourinho. So the riders now looking to me as though they're going to do themselves a little late. Should be a lot of concern in the main field. Yeah, that's a whole of riders up at the front of that chase. Here's Casagrande. So a nice rhythm on the climb. Rugby is simply a workhorse, so he can win the World Championship. Massimo Giotto is also up here. Interesting name. I've never actually ever spoken to Giotto. I've seen him race super everywhere in the world, and he's always going to perform sooner or later. He's winning the Tour de France, and perhaps I never winning Geneva. And at Liège, a lot of other left off course. Before the finish line, you will not do the results to someone, always. But Casagrande to keep the pace going. He tends to share the Champions League. He's second overall in the Tour 9 Valleys. And Giotto, time for a shower. A little bit of work, it seems. And there's still one more Italian rider here. He's still trying to get across. I haven't actually identified him, but he's down there and he's trying desperately to reach across the group. But it looks as though it might be from what the commentator is saying, Gianni Faragin who's trying to get across. Sutherland, sort of set with his team this year, because he had grown much of brilliance. And the pace now being led by Massimo Giotto. This is John Rees on the 73. Well, man. Who has excelled these last couple of years, as many riders from Denmark in fact, and the popularity of the sport in Denmark now has gone through the roof. 35 seconds is the gap. Not a lot, especially on this climb. Giotto continues his pace, stage winner this year in the Giro d'Italia, and in fact he won the Tour of the Mining Valleys, which Casagrande was second in, and that was his first stage victory, by the way, in 12 years of cycling for Giotto, Massimo Giotto. Now, Bjorn Rees comes through and wants to see the finish. Eddie Boykin coming up the climb here too. Now it's not Boykin, it's Eric Ekela. So the second group up on the climb. Well, it's becoming something of a war of attrition here, because those that stick the nose out front seem to be hauled in on the climb each lap. This is the last kilometre of the climb now. They're just to the steepest part. And this is Bortolami trying to get in touch with him as well. He's had his ups and downs quite literally today. And Giotto setting the pace. The Italians are really trying to force this now. They will need to get a much smaller group, I think. They haven't really got any great sprinters. They've got riders who will wear the field down and possibly ride away to victory on this climb, and that may be what they're thinking. Men like Kikuchi could ride away on this climb, and Giotto prepared to keep the pace high. Sunderland, Boykin, that's the order to go through. There's Richard Bahrain looking around rather quizzically. It's a big group this now. Bjorn Rees in the red for Denmark. There's Boykin. This is Sunderland. Now Giotto has done a sterling ride up this climb. He really has. He's kept the pace so high. He's going to do around 24 riders here. Coming through to the end of the lap. 5 hours and 13 minutes in the lead. Or rather, the race has gone 5 hours and 13 minutes. And the left now with 4 laps to go. And that was Stefan Erlo who's led them through, but I don't think he'll survive very long. 46 seconds and counting has gone through. Eddie Decker into a chase group. In fact, it's almost a minute. You'll have the real Belgians in this group. Bobrik. And in fact, Erlo is trying to make a best of his escape towards the top of that climb. He's really going hard here. The trouble is, you see, once you're off the hill, you've got this wide section of road with long views and visibility, and it's really difficult for a ride to slip the field. Erlo. And they're trying to finish him off very, very quickly. Well, the French seem to be offering the biggest challenge to the Italians as a team. They've got a number of riders up in this breakaway. Now cycling fortunes switch, because the Dutch now really don't seem to be in this race at all. They've got Decker chasing, they've got Boykin in the group, and Boykin needs to get forward because the rumours are he's losing his contract with Once, the Spanish team. It hasn't turned out to be the big winner which they paid the big money for. Erlo is forcing the Italians to chase, and that will use effort. And so if nothing else, that will help, possibly later. Armstrong. And all the Americans, as in the days of Greg LeMond, the Americans have to watch the moves and try and go with them because they have no team at this stage. They're all gone. A number have retired, 1 or 2 are still back in the main field. But they did their job early on to keep Lawrence up near the front. It's cost them their place or possible finish, I think. But now they've done their job because they've got Armstrong into the lead group, and this lead group begins to look rather decisive. Armstrong still continuing to do some pace making. He's at the front of the chase. They didn't err inside, but my goodness me, he's going well. Ride alongside Miguel Indurain and the next squad. Indurain's always had a little bit of penchant for employing French riders on his team. He speaks a little bit of French himself. He prefers to speak in Spanish, but he does speak French. He brought the army in the breakaway. He takes a look at Morgan. Well, it's taking a lot of effort here, and the Italians are having to do all of the work. But they're slowly breathing in, and they've got him, and the rider first across is Bruno Cinghialta. Cinghialta continues, Sunderland takes a drink. And Stefan Erlo drops down the line a little bit. The pace continues. Italians, you see, want to keep the pace high. Castiglione, they're going back to give the leader a work out there. Cinghialta to it for Fondriest is here. He's taking as much rest as he can down the back of the line. He may be one of the star cards. This is Pisani, little old David Pisani. He's won about 16, 17 races as a professional in those 12 years as a pro, but he's been a real big workhorse on many, many occasions. On the stage in Giro d'Italia last year. A little bit of repair on the move. and this will be for Dimitri Konishev. No, it's Konishev. Dimitri Konishev, who started to fly the flag for Russia in the Soviet Union when they turned professional. And he did it, of course, in the year that Greg LeMond picked up the gold medal, and Konishev just picked Sean Kelly. Sean Kelly always rues that day in 1989 in Chambéry because he feels that was the one chance he had of the World Championship. Because Kelly too is out of the sport at the end of this year and didn't start this race, by the way. And the gap is 1:38. A nice healthy start to the day. They're the champion of Switzerland, the team. This is Johan Brunel, in the chase group in Dakar. But just to conclude that little story there about Kelly, will always tell you he went out to see the course finish in Chambéry the day before. The wind was in a different direction, and he in fact chose to use a 13 top gear because he thought it would be a headwind sprint. And in fact, the wind changed, it was a tailwind, and it was a suitable sprint for a 12 top gear. And he was beaten by Greg LeMond. He never said that he would have beaten Greg LeMond for that World Championship, but he said he would have had a better chance of doing so. But he does feel that was the one time when the championship was there for the taking, and he never got it. And Konishev came through good there. Konishev taking silver, and since then has won the stage in Tour de France in Paris, and other stages as well. Comes up with the odd good performance. Now he's in this breakdown. A little bit like a moon skate. The Lions on the final game, the Italians are continuing to set the pace. Nobody willing to help them. They know the pressure on the Italians. They know they've got to do a performance in their own country. So those who will not complain to the don't win. And so the others aren't going to help them too much. Number 95 here is Laurent Magloire. That's a good ride there, Laurent. That's a good lead now. They can keep the pressure on and don't start catching mousing around the Italians and the French particularly, and then I don't think anybody will get up here. Just go down the ground, looking quite casual on the line. Laurent Magloire behind him.
Okay, so I reckon we can pass close on the hill. Hold the movement. 4th and 9th, well, I know I am putting in a bit more effort into this descent than the riders ahead.
This is an amazing breakaway group. Chengialtos have gone through. I think there are 7 Italians now in this group. I think we've got 5 people there. Rupert Long. He rode so well to win the stage at Oticamp in the Tour de France, where he was the only man to hold on to the far wheel of Miguel Indurain on that climb in the Pyrenees, and then he rode away from Miguel in the last few metres. Is it Otto? So Kikuchi and Andreas to follow the key cards for Italy. They're not going anywhere, they're riding down the line. Jan Rees, a very strong man, sort of man who would try to go
So that's been coming up or not? I can't tell. I think it is.
Also up here, well, Sargent and his teammates. Also a man to go for gold area.
Oh no. Oh yeah, we have got sprints.
Trying to get across. Still a lot of work to be done here. There's Decker, shot the ball and very looking around. Very passive face indeed. He's certainly not a man under pressure at this point. Hurlo has had a very, very good championship for France. Hurlo. There's Armstrong, riding so well. The defensive is well crowned. It's not been a great season for Armstrong, but he's certainly risen to the occasion here. He rose to the occasion in the age best on the age as well. Well, a little bit more luck he would have liked. But Armstrong going to have to now think of bigger fish to fry here in the World Championship. Finally got in second place in the age back on the age, outwitted by a late attack. Look at the crowd here now on this Sicilian island. There's Fondriest. He looks to me as though he's a little bit under pressure, Fondriest. Giorgio Ferran has got across, he's alongside him. In fact, there's a number of Italians round the back seat. I'm keeping an eye on them all there. I think there's Luke Leblanc. And there's Sorensen. Keeping his gears nicely down low if he can. And they have a house, by the way, on top of Morzine-Avoyard, that wonderful climb in the Alps. And the Tour de France visited this year and occasionally goes there. So if he ever needs to get any mountain training, he only has to go to stay in the apartment, and off he goes. Phil looks around, sees what's going on, tries to drink the step out Hurlo. 3 laps to go, almost 6 hours now, not a good time, 20:32, rounding out, round about 20:30. Here's the chase group, but they're not really getting across. Minute 23, and Becker disappeared from that group. In fact, I think he's down amongst the cars, there he is. I really can't see this group being brought back. Girotto, sitting on the wheel of Casagrande. Eric Broyken. Number 95 is Laurent Magloire. Broyken rather desperate for a good performance. It's not been a great year at all for Eric. Casagrande looks across to Girotto. I think he wants a little bit of a hand, time for a rest. And Girotto having a word with him there. So often we get the chance to fly above one of our own helicopters, but there we are. The helicopter almost at road level, with a very disjointed group down there. Alban, the sprinter. Casagrande almost willing to keep the face going.
Alright, it's 11 o'clock.
What that man is going to do, and that's why we love him. He's apt to attack on the flat as on the hills. Casagrande just drops back a little bit. Makes way for Dimitri Konishev. Always should be concerned about Konishev.
Okay. Now, do I wait for start or do I attack close?
And the French. Every reason why the rest of the race may not get back up. World champions, by the way, they all began in 1927. And in fact, Scott Sunderland is calling for his service car here. So let's hope we don't see his tyres going down, so maybe just need for a chat. Remember that this is the only time of the year when they don't race on teams, they race for their country, so you'll be talking rather to Kate Spring, his team manager, you would talk to the Australian team manager, which could well be Michael Salzgiebel, former East German coach, who now resides in Australia as a national trainer. First leader trained the East German team that won the gold medal in the 1988 Olympic team time trial. Now he's getting a lot of success out of the Australian amateurs. They've just cleaned up in the medals in the Commonwealth Games in Canada. Before travelling down to Sicily, some of them, and now they've got another Italian. It's time to warm the day up even hotter. It's now around about 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Earl very attentive, so the French clearly marking the Italians at every move. And the Germans, I think it's Alda trying to get across to the top camera now. So it's pulled a group of 6 clear. Now time to shuffle the pack again. And it's gone on the flat road, which is interesting to note. Try and make a run for the mountain. The guy who's done it is Bruno Cinghialta. There's the little chat is over for Scott Sunderland. Not a good time to do it, Scott, because that breakaway is split at the front. Armstrong riding 4 or 5 men down, just watching the route. That's all he can do at this stage. There's nobody here to help him. Same applies to Eric Breaking in the orange. Cassani looking over his shoulder. And Rolf Sorensen seems to be shouting back at his team for all the commissaire or something. I'm not sure he's complaining at the proximity of the car, because he is in fact shouting to the commissaire. Oh, I see, he wants his manager, he wants to know what's going on behind. Well, now he knows. And it's about a minute and a half long. Jan Rees at the front, followed by Aldan. Moving now with the following vehicle, I think this is one occasion that people are realising this is the breakaway inside the World Championship, and the Italians are the ones who are saying, well, if it is, we're going to win. And attacked immediately by Cinghialta. Immediately countered there, and it's Armand de las Cuevas who came onto the back of the group early on. We haven't seen the ending until now, and de las Cuevas has gone off. He's having his best season ever, de las Cuevas. He's in the champion of Switzerland for TV. Cinghialta looking across to see what the attack did, and realising the lady nothing. Contini has gone through him. There he is. Cinghialta hangs on. I think on this occasion it's going to be all back together again. We've had Cinghialta shouting at each other. You understand it, because they speak Italian as part of Switzerland. In fact, the people ride on the Italian team as well, small one. And now Sorensen going, this is the sort of move that Sorensen would make. Of course, Sorensen always would expect to do it alone, he's going to do it at all. And so, the tall Danish rider tarnished his reputation within the eyes of the British at least, when he pulled the jersey of the Motorola rider Sean Yates when he was in the yellow jersey, enjoying a sprint for a valuable 6-second time bonus in the Tour de France this year. And in fact, by the end of the day, Musea was leading by, guess what, 6 seconds. And although Sean Yates normally would not beat Musea, it wasn't the thing to do. And Sorensen hasn't been allowed to get that yet. Anyway, Sorensen now clear. Cassani has got him. Rolf's father Jens rode in the Olympic Games back in 1960. While Rolf took the plunge as a pro at the early age of 20. There's a bit over that now, he's 29. Well, Puccini seems to be a man for big titles. He's got the national championship, he rode well in the world last year, 17th, he's going again, trying to get across these leaders. We've got 4 riders now, Cassani, Eric Breaking, Rolf Sorensen, and Stefan Löwen. Group, and you see Breaking, who also what they call a spare rider can go out there, is someone Sorensen, the sort of man he would like to go with, and immediately marked Sorensen and went. This is Puccini. And Sorensen can get it back, and I don't think he'll help the company here. Sorry, not immense to be up here other as a policeman to watch the breakaway. A great little Swiss rider, Puccini. No wins at all this year. Breaking prepared now to do quite a slice on the work. In fact, it's not to Revenge, it's not to Erlo in this leading group. Richard Berent, who's enjoyed his career so far the last couple of years since he did so well in the Tour de France. He completed that feat in this year's Tour de France. And once you get a couple of good performances under your belt, you begin to believe in yourself. And once you believe in yourself, anything is possible. And there you get a nice perspective of the climb. It's really a tough climb. Lucas Partners and Ferrari are picture there. A good time being had down at the barbecue with the Italians. There's the rest of the breakaway, and Mayfield is dropping out of it now. He's going right behind, 2 minutes down. The long figure of Britannia chasing, trying to get across the lead square, but he's not coming across yet. Any reaction will come on the steep part of the climb. The Sorensen goes through, but then Pisani and Eric Working. And in fact, now I was about to say Pisani's going to go through. In fact, he left the door open and allowed Working in. And Working didn't say anything to Pisani there. He accepts that the fact is that Pisani is not the Italian expected to land the goods here. And so he's going to sit in the back and hope that this breakaway gets caught. There's a more likely candidate in number 60, Pucci. Giorgio Ferrer, perhaps, number 10 at the back also. Fabinho, the knocking gets in the back for Spain. Armstrong sitting there nicely and watching, hoping without doubt this breakaway gets caught very shortly. That's Armstrong, second in the Tour de France again in America this year. Beaten by another man who weren't perfect, but it wasn't Val Alpla this time, it was in fact Jacob Yakimov. Any difference. It doesn't look to me as though there's much. Those 4 riders have kept the tempo nicely on the climb. The Italians, you know, setting the pace in the chase group as well. There's around about 20-22 riders in this group. Sorensen looks as though he's put a few air holes in his jersey there. Pisani, Mr. Langrod to do the gap closing. Good stage at the rock in the Tour de France this year.
What's that, 700 metres?
Yeah, he took a lot. He beat Neil Stevens, who I think everybody will like to see trying to get a stage in the big tour because he's always been an aggressive rider but rarely gets a victory. With no match for Sorensen from the streets, no figure. By taking the corner wide, they should have had just there. Sorensen goes through, working, and now we've got Coutinho latched on the back. He's run across and a fine piece of riding too. It took him a while, but the effort was worth it. Now we've got 5. And in fact, the Italians are going to be in a bit of a corner here, but Pisani will not win from that group. Working Sorensen, Berent must be seen as the riders who could do something here. But Pisani is a super little rider. He's dancing away on the pedals there, second from the back, but he's still trying to get his breath back. First year in Paris, Pisani going to cheer the fight. He's third overall, but he didn't win a race until his second year as well. In fact, in his first 5 years, professionally, he won only 2 races. So that's 4 years in good now. This season 91, and he won 7 times, including the stage in the Giro, and finishing 9th in the World Championship. 9th is his best finish. And the World Champion, I beg your pardon, he finished 7th, I think, back in 1988. So he's had a 7th now. Loves the climbs now, after all. You've seen what the king of the mountain in the Tour de France, you will believe you are a climber. And although this is a very different hill to the high Pyrenees or high Alps, it calls for a very different type of effort. Berent is an explosive climber. He's not going to just sit there and bash out the river, he dances out the saddle as much as possible. He wants Sina Goiti to come to him. I think Eric is happy They have gone just now. So the gap falling between the actually not reaching the gap on the climb. And time is decided to pick someone now. That's why I don't see him as the man, because he can't survive on this climb. And the reaction is coming, and it's Massimo Girotto and Lance Armstrong that are going. Armstrong deciding now might be the time to reach those wings. It could be going for keeps. Up towards the summit yet again. 5 hours and 54 minutes gone. Little group coming through. The clock will start on the line as Sorensen leads them through. Working the rank. The range is arriving now at the pace here. 5 riders and the chase group. Here comes Lance Armstrong, Girotto. So just about 26 kilometers now left to go. And that is the 16 miles or so. And it's 9 seconds the gap. It's nothing now. They've really closed in those last few meters of the climb on the steep section. Sunderland with the rider and one at the back. So it certainly hasn't gone yet. This breakaway, despite the work. The team here is good so far on the move, but can continue. Probably hear the announcer saying there are 5 riders chasing now, so they've just got away off the front of that group. One of them must be Lance Armstrong, and they know the other one is Girotto. I told you Lance Armstrong, there he is. Armstrong has come through. The other rider coming through is Connie Shem, Girotto. Claudio Chiapucci. And the 5th man to make the gap, it looks like Luke LeBlanc. So 10 riders now, inside the 2 laps to go. The Italians have strengthened the men at the front and they've brought across a real star in Claudio Chiapucci. Luke LeBlanc was riding a tremendous season this year. Another rider who turned professional at 20 by the way, Luke LeBlanc. Turned pro back in 1987. And he moved across and joined Sir Dimar in 1990, where he won 4 races. But this year he joined the Festina team. With distinction, really sharp race. They've got everything together, it seems. They've sort of gone together. Now they're in there, what's looking at very much decided to move the World Championships together. Sorensen seems to enjoy the field. It's on now to a win from Chiapucci to go through and do some work. Connie behind Eric Boykin. Lance Armstrong. Well, he's riding a brilliant World Championships and defending his title. And after the brilliant season, but you couldn't expect Lance to match the lead. Just 1 year ago, his first full year out of the road. He was second for the other crowd. And he's got to give him time to set them. So it's just 19 minutes. I think it's made 20 big races already, of course. So we've got that small chase group. Sorensen leading the 10 front runners. Blue skies, and they are now tickling at 100 degrees Fahrenheit here. Bortolami was not in the lead group anymore. He's going to have to do something about that if he wants to continue his fight progress. I think he'll be handicapped now because he's got his head up there. Johan Brunel, this is the group containing Brunel, Andre Schmill, Gattislav Bodrik and Bortolami. There's Schmill on the far side, lovely winner of Paris-Roubaix this year. Eric Decker is in this group too, but they're not going to get up, I don't think. I don't think they can break the gap now. Bortolami keeping the tempo high to keep him in the position he's in, but he can't really damage now his teammates who have made the move. And this is saying now that Girotto, Sorensen and Magloire are the latest attackers from that group of 10. So they've gone clear while we were looking at that chase group. Well, Sorensen, for me, is the big danger. Magloire is having the ride of his life. Absolutely tremendous ride for this young pro. Girotto, you just never know. He's a lone win expert, the same... What's happened to Magloire? Magloire has dropped completely off on the climb, and it looks as though he's stopping. In fact, his hand's up. He has a mechanical problem. It looked to me as though his gears had jammed the way his pedals locked up there. Well, that is really, really bad luck. What it's going to do now is tell the French in the chase group that they better start working again now because they've lost their man up front. Well, that really, and they're getting a bike up, are they, for him? No, a wheel, back wheel. Well, that is a terrible, no, it is a new bike, a terrible, terrible shame indeed for Laurent Madois, because he has had the ride of his life today, and it's one of those inspired performances you hope you do get as a new pro. So it leaves Garotto and Rolf Sorensen as they head up the climb for the penultimate time.
Okay.
Hill awaits them on the
I
summit.
think I have time for a short
Just giving the wing to Sorensen to keep up
recovery
with him.
ride.
But Girotto prepared to work with Sorensen and may have been given his head to take his chance by the team. And this is Armstrong going to go across. Lance Armstrong, he will have seen Madois in trouble. Well, Armstrong is riding superbly today. He is going whenever he can. He's shed the, oh, I was about to say he shed the fear, but somebody's climbed across to him. Girotto just sitting there. He looks a lot younger with his hat on because, of course, he has no hair when he takes it off. And Sorensen, and I think Sorensen actually said something then to Girotto. And that's the return of Madois there, or trying to be the return of Madois. But I don't think Long is going to have a chance to repair that damage. He lost a lot of time. He was passed by the main field as well, and there's the main field now. Armstrong has been joined. A useful breakaway. Konishev has got up here too. And this rider with them is Luc Leblanc. And Claudio Chiappucci is the other rider who has got across the gap. This move is taking on a move of reality again, and Armstrong may have started it. Well, he certainly did start it. It's a chase group though. They've got to catch up to the leaders. There are 2 leaders up there. We could have 6 very shortly. Meanwhile, back down the slopes, Bortolami, Bogli. They're really out of it now. I think our Italian cameras are only going down there to remind us where Bortolami is, but they're nowhere near the leaders now. This is the leader, Girotto. They were looking up the mountain as they were climbing. They might have even spotted these two. And another move from a Frenchman trying to get across the gap. Casagrande. He also is trying to repair the damage of the split here. The field is blown on this climb. They've scrabbled for wheels. There's once about 25 of them, but they've been scrabbling now on the climb. Sorensen has started the move. Girotto was there too. He did well. He got across. Armstrong had a move with Girotto, which he never took up. And there the 4 chasers. And Armstrong. Claudio Chiappucci needs to be Konishev, Luc Leblanc. And they're bringing them back. They're going to have them by the top of the climb because Chiappucci is such a good climber. And there's no fire there in Massimo Girotto. And I think Rolf Sorensen is also feeling a little bit tired because he's not going through. And Luc Leblanc is the first to reach them. A very familiar climbing pattern of Leblanc. We have plenty of chance to learn that one on the Tour de France this year. And Leblanc goes to the lead. He's reached them on his own too. He must have ridden away from that group. So Leblanc climbing towards the summit with a small lead with 2 other riders, and they will take the bell whistle. There is descent down the flats and back up the hill, and the world champion will be crowned. Chiappucci having set the pace now. Armstrong, little gap there, but Armstrong hanging in. Konishev, and it's Richard the red who's got on the back now. the climb, but he's gritting his teeth and he's going to get back. So 1 lap to go, just 19 and a quarter, sorry, 13.25 kilometers to go. And Kikuchi not far off the pace at 15 seconds. Around about 7.5 miles still to race. The world champion now going to come from this group of around about 15 riders. And in fact, Claudio Kikuchi is starting to go again. And Armstrong gets his wheel. Brilliant riding by Lance Armstrong. And prepared to work with him as well. Now, can Lance Armstrong swing a surprise here and defend his championship? He become only the 5th man in history to do so. Going to history, George Ronsley in 1928-29, Rick Van Steenbergen of Belgium in 56-57, Rick Van Looy of Belgium in 60-61, and Jenny Bunyo, as you saw at the top of our program, in 1991 and 1992. And it looks to me as though the effort made by Kikuchi has hurt him a little bit. He should recover because he goes downhill now. They're the 2 leaders. 2 leaders. Sorensen got back. Ross Sorensen back at the turn here. I think Wolf will have to go early if he's going to try and win because clearly he lacks the strength of that climb. And there could be a major surprise here because Luc Leblanc climbed so well last lap. If he produces a climb like that, and they're not caught, of course, then he's going to ride to the title, and that would be a surprise. I don't think you've got too many takers for a French winner today amongst all the Italians. The Italians have played the cards reasonably well, but they seem to me to have banked on the winner coming from either Fondriest to Kikuchi, and Fondriest has cracked. Luc Leblanc, having the sort of season one just only hopes for. Giotto won his first big stage race after 12 years of cycling this season. And Rolf Sorensen. This is the chase group, and the roads now are wide open in front of them, but they will eventually see that long straight again. They'll see the riders up there. David Kasani looking a little bit worried now about this. This is due through Ugramov. And Eric Royking, Ugramov, of course, the strong man who came so strongly in that second last week of the Tour de France, rather, where he won 2 stages, almost won 3 straight. Sorensen not sure of strength at all on these easier stages, but I think he's lacking it on the climb. Luc Leblanc trying now to confirm his great season, 6th in the Vuelta de España. And also winner of the King of the Mountains there. 4th in the Tour de France and winner of the stage there. Finished won a stage also at the Tour of Galicia. But he's having a marvellous year. Here's Kikuchi. Now will start to ask himself the question, can he reach them? Same of Armstrong, but they're going to try. Konishev going away with them. Michel Verenk at the back of this chasing group of 4. Will not make any move at all now, but they're only just ahead. Look, there they are. Now surely that's a gap that Kikuchi could close. On the climb, that is. A bit more difficult on the flat for him. Konishev wants to descend to those leaders if he can. Armstrong keeping an eye on the whereabouts of the little Italian. Now, we're going to see them for a little way down this road. This is their chance, maybe, to get across. It's really difficult to stay away just here. Nobody else is hanging down that hill. There's going to be 7 riders together if they can make this gap, and if they do, there'll be nobody else in this championship. It's been an extremely good race. It came alive around lap number 12 and 13, and they've been going at it ever since. The best have survived under these really torrid conditions. Well, Kiyoputchi trying to get across, and yet I don't know whether he's got mixed feelings about the fact that Girotto is in there. He's making Konishev do the chasing. He was prepared to see Lance Armstrong do the chasing, because the Italians and the French have got two men up there, and one of them should win it. Sorensen looks suspect, and I think that's why it's soft pedal through Kiyoputchi. He's making Lance Armstrong do the pace now. So Armstrong, the defending champion of the world, and flying the USA flag with pride today. And Sorensen wants more help from Girotto. But he can't be looking forward. I think in fact LeBlanc indicated to Sorensen that there was a group coming. Girotto knows it now. There's Konishev taking the wheel. Armstrong, the Italian and the French rider are not interested in the chase down now. They're making the other two do it. That's the game, that's the sport. But you know, if these two take across Kiyoputchi, it might be curtains on the last climb. What a great pursuit this is now. Dmitry Konishev trying to reach the field leaders along with Lance Armstrong, with better than help from Virenque Kiyoputchi. Virenque just hangs off the back. Kiyoputchi rides closer to Armstrong but doesn't assist. Armstrong left to go through. His American team fought hard in the opening half of the race to keep him in a position to springboard into a breakaway. The vast majority of that team has now retired, but they did their job. And Armstrong, it's all down to him, his great talent from the Motorola squad. He gets to show us he can ride a great Tour de France, but you never know one day. He's so young and he's done so much so soon. Well, they mustn't lose the impetus now, and in fact, it looks as though Sorensen has sensed it. Sorensen has gone. Now he needs to do this because his legs turn to putty on the climb. He must have a good gap, and I reckon he needs about 20 seconds when he hits that climb if he's going to hold off these two. The block reacts a little bit. I think Girotto is also feeling very, very tired now. So this attack could almost have been predicted by Sorensen. It's come on the downhill, and it's over almost as quickly. And LeBlanc has closed the gap. LeBlanc is looking so good now, and Girotto is going to have a go. Moves to the other side of the road, steps up the pace again to see if they can get rid of Sorensen at this moment. But LeBlanc seems to show no real interest in pushing home this move. This is almost as if he's just waiting for that climb to come. He shot a bit on the previous lap, and he went up there, he took 3 seconds out of them. And only Girotto could hang on. But it's not the finish for Girotto. He's been on the move all day today for the Italians. Armstrong now leading the chase forward. They're still not quite there. The sun directly overhead now. Konishev goes through. Kiyoputchi. And the breakaway, you see, Armstrong in fact has gone back to say to Richard Virenque, get through and do some work, Richard. And Virenque not having any of it. He's left the gap, and Armstrong quite annoyed by that and attacked. Armstrong decides he's not going to carry Kiyoputchi and Virenque up to the leaders and then lose this world title. He's gone on his own. This is a great move. Well, Armstrong is just really two years as a pro, more or less, has settled right in at the top echelon. He's now dictating tactics. He's learned so much in his second season with Motorola. It's going to force Virenque to chase, but can he chase with LeBlanc up there? Well, it's all over. They brought him back. They jumped on him, but they're right on the leaders anyway. That gap has closed down dramatically. And so we're going to have 7 riders, and it's going to come in the last few kilometres of the race, and it's going to be anybody's race from these 7. What a great championship now. Girotto looks back, they all look back, they see who's come up. The defending world champion Armstrong is first to reach them. He grabs the wheel of Sorensen. Richard Virenque, so now Festina